I told my grandpa I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, and everybody thought it was cute. But apparently it stops being cute when you get older, and people start asking questions like, when are you going to get a real job? So I did. I kept art as a hobby for 2 decades. I wasn't a child prodigy. Actually, I was pretty bad at drawing. But when I was 13 years old, I decided to learn how to draw. And this is the drawing I made that day. I also made my first self-portrait, which is kind of adorable, but I soon discovered I loved drawing animals. So I started practicing. And I practiced a little bit more. And even more. I also wanted to try other art mediums than pencil, and I spent so much time playing with markers. I started drawing lots of birds and even more animals. Then I really fell in love with fantasy novels, and I started creating these imaginary creatures. And it was the point when I started using more color as well. At this point I was 17 years old. I was such a weird teenager, but art kept me sane. At this point I started seeing a little bit of progress. I attended annual art camps and took painting classes once a week. One of the first oil paintings I created was this one. I still remember when I saw a picture of this animal, and I thought it was the strangest thing I've ever seen. In my 30s, I got this great idea that I'm gonna be a graphic designer. I mean, what could go wrong? Well, quite a lot actually. It is a very different thing to work long hours for clients than for yourself. I had my own small, teeny tiny graphic design company back then, but when I graduated as a Bachelor of Media and Communication, I was so creatively burned out I actually never worked in graphic design ever again. It took almost 2 years to get back to painting after this creative burnout. And of course I started by painting birds. I haven't really saved many paintings from that time period, but this is the time when I started taking art more seriously. This is a self-portrait I created as a part of the entrance assignments when I applied for a bachelor's degree in fine arts. I was 35 years old when I started studying art, and I had this one amazing teacher who inspired me to try abstract expressionism. And it was love at the first sight. I also surprised myself by taking quite a lot of performance art classes, and I loved it as well. We also went through lots of basic stuff, like copying old artworks. Then the pandemic hit and I escaped into my studio for days. I was still finding my way in abstract art while working on my thesis and final work. I was so sure my final work would be a painting, but I surprised myself by choosing a video format instead. And that's how my nature studies began. I started studying nature and our four changing seasons through movement, sound, and improvised music, and I fell in love with it. When I graduated, I was empty. I had nothing left in me. So I took a break and focused on just surviving and making a living for a while. But when I was ready to get back to painting, I had to start from scratch. I didn't have my studio any longer, and I wasn't sure who I am as an artist. So I decided to paint and figure it out. I didn't care about the style or if the end result was something that was pleasing to my eyes. I just painted. I went through a pretty big surgery that summer and I painted my way through the recovery. In my memories, that summer was wild and free, despite the fact that I had a day job. Painting kind of woke me up and I felt so alive. And this is where a major change began, but it happened really slowly. From these sketches, it took 3 years to discover who I am as an artist. I started to take my creative practice seriously and committed to it. For me, it has meant long days and the struggle of combining a day job and my creative practice. I don't really have much free time or energy for anything else, but it is a choice I make every day, and I don't regret a thing. Studying art changed everything for me. None of the art classes and courses I've taken over the years have prepared me for finding my true self. Studying technique is one thing, but learning to see things differently and test your boundaries is another. And I wouldn't be the same person without those 3 years in art school. I have only now found my path as an artist, and it's been a long journey. One day I'll hopefully be a full-time artist, but for now I'm deeply grateful for all of these years. The 6-year-old version of me would be proud of who I've become.